Welcome to Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio. Divine Kika is a radiant force, overflowing with positive energy, guiding you to a heart-opening, blissful, authentic tantric experience. This show will help you to expand your joy, cultivate more intimacy in your life, and rediscover the pleasure within your personal relationship. Dive in and discover untapped intimacy and true joy for yourself or with your beloved. Bring back the harmony and happiness that you long for. Let's begin an unforgettable journey that will leave an imprint on your heart and soul forever. Welcome to Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio. Here's your host, Divine Kika.
Welcome to another edition of the Tantra Lounge. My name is Greg. I am here with the host of the show, the Divine Kika, the lovely Divine Kika. You look stunning today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and teaching us as you continue to open all of us up. Everyone listening to the show learns something new every week. You've brought in some amazing guests. Today will be no different. We have a fantastic guest later on. When I leave, my seat becomes filled with a very smart man that you're very proud to have, named Adam Atman. His website is adamatman.com. He actually started the Los Gatos Acupuncture and Qigong Center. And you seem so excited. You said he's one of the best guests I've ever had. Can you tell me anything about what we can expect from Adam today?
So we're going to talk about male sexuality, energy, how we move energy through ourselves, and healing. It's very empowering and beautiful to learn what he has to say.
And he's very experienced, obviously.
Oh, he's the most amazing teacher I ever met. Like as far as it's Qigong and Tai Chi and the whole sexual energy, he really has a vast knowledge. And he's very humble. You know, you look at him,
you would never know that man is so successcal. When you see him sitting in the lobby, and he just looks like an everyday guy who's almost like a surfer, like a guy. he doesn't have a care in the world. Maybe that's why, because he knows how to take care of himself.
Yeah,
better than most.
He does beautiful work in the world, and he's an amazing healer. He's a magician. Like, he does magic. He heals people in a beautiful way.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, there was a time in my life I broke both of my ankles, and he was a big part of my healing.
Yeah.
If not like the most powerful part of my healing.
Yeah. Well, I know he does acupuncture.
I got a lot of needles.
Does that really work on broken bones?
I work on everything.
No kidding.
Everything is energy, right? So
yeah.
he helped me to heal the inflammation around it and to put it back together. He would put our herbs around it and prayers and smudge and put needles and
is it really the way it is?
Yes.
And it worked.
It worked. And he brought me back to my feet. Because there was a time in my life I could not. Well, I was in a wheelchair.
Really?
People don't know this.
We're learning more about the divine.
Yeah, I was in a wheelchair, and I had to look at every aspect of my being, what got me there, and to get out of that. And today is a blessing that I can walk and I can wear my heels again, and
wow,
and it's beautiful. And I have a lot of gratitude for Adam and all the work we went through, because every time we think we already healed ourselves and we went through all our healing, but there is always another layer. It's like as we go deeper and we learn more, there is another layer that comes to heal, because some people say, well, I already worked with it. Well, you worked, but not deep enough. There is always another layer that we need to heal about ourselves.
That's funny, because a broken bone can be an analogy for anything. I broke my ankle 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. Yeah, and the rehab was so important to fix what was broken, which was physically a broken bone. But that could go for anything in life, or especially within our sexuality and what we love. Sometimes you have to fix what's broken, but it takes rehab. It takes work.
It takes willingness to look at it, to feel your feelings and share your feelings deeply.
Did that tie into your a lot of what you do with your Tantra? It did.
It's a lot of processing.
Yeah.
A lot of processing.
Yeah.
But through the processing, we grow, we learn, and then we grow deep in love. Mm-hmm. There is a way that a couple can meet and connect and go, okay, we're struggling. We can meet, and then we can share our fears, share the things that are not working for us in a loving way.
Right.
And just feeling heard and understood is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Being heard as in like what you want and don't want.
Really listening.
Right.
And understanding what do we need. That sometimes that's all we need. to be heard and understood. And then there is the healing, like what we do now, and then set new boundaries.
Yes.
Set new boundaries moving forward. And that works.
So,
and so...
Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, that's it.
I was going to ask, because before we get to Adam, how do you go about finding the guests for the show? Are these people you've met in your journey? Are all of these people? Because I mean, I marvel at the amount of people that come through our building to be on your show, and what they all come with some unique gift, and every one of them has brought something different. There's never been one where I'm like, oh, that's similar to this one or that one. They're all, where do you find them? Where do you come? Is it just
These are actually being my teachers, my friends, the people, colleagues that do the same work I do. And I feel like as I healed my life and then my relationship with my father or whatever relationships, the quality of the people in my life are amazing.
Yeah.
I have amazing beings in my life on a daily basis. Like the people that I connect with, that are in my life, are really gifted.
Yes.
And I feel very blessed that way.
It's amazing.
And it keeps happening that I meet more and more people
Yeah.
like that. I go to conferences and I travel a lot and I get to meet a lot of amazing people and I feel very blessed.
Yeah, you should. It's remarkable to witness the amount of talent that comes through. We should also talk before Adam comes in, just in case people are listening to the show. I know we talk about it often. That we've had a nice influx in our in your Facebook likes, and our page. We should tell people to go there because all the information you hear on the show and then some. You have so
the
much.
videos of the show,
which will the videos that Farzin
teaser.
does are amazing. And not just that, but all of the videos you've done and all the work you've done, the books and such, they could find out all that information as well. Why don't you tell everyone how to get it?
So go to the Facebook page, Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio, Divine Kika, and please push like.
Yes,
like us
the page.
so we can continue doing this. And if you want to see all the other videos, I invite you to Divine Kika YouTube channel. All my videos are there. All the shows are there.
So many good ones.
And you can go to my website and find out more.
Yeah, the website's loaded with stuff.
Yeah, divinekika.com.
Yeah, and with all the times you've been on TV and all these different appearances you do, or what would you say, retreats, or I guess
the retreats, the workshops.
Workshops, yes, that's the word I was looking for. Find out that information. Yes.
Because it's Christmas.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I want to be generous, and I want to be a gift. I want to give a gift for the listeners.
Oh, really?
So for the first 3 people that call, I'm giving a 30 minutes consultation over the phone free, which I never do. I don't. You know, a lot of people, they do 30 minutes so they can get clients. I'm so booked all the time. It's like I never had to do that to do consultations. I feel very blessed that way. But I'm giving 3 30 minutes consultations. So what do? You go to my website, divinekika.com. You go to the contact page and you say, I heard you on Tantra Lounge. Let's set up call me at this number to set up the time.
And then
I will email you back saying the time of your phone call.
Now,
and then
just in case,
we're gonna have a phone consultation, 30 minutes free for you to resolve anything you want with me. Which
only
can
3
change.
though. So if
only 3 people,
we're hoping that we get a lot of people to put in to enter, and you will choose 3 at random. Right.
The first 3.
Oh, the first 3. Okay, so there you go.
The first 3.
So
and
do it now.
All you have to do is say that you need a consultation. Don't write me the story of your life on the email.
Yeah, so you heard her on Tantra Lounge. I need a consultation.
And you want a consultation. And I'll give you 30 minutes. And I will give a whole session to somebody for free, too.
Really?
1 hour session.
This is super valuable.
Yeah, this is $250 I'm giving away.
This is bigger than a Christmas gift. I know.
An hour.
And you're worth more.
And I'm giving you a full free session for the first person that contacts us.
Okay.
Okay.
This is big.
And then 3 30 minutes consultations. Okay.
You talk about a nice Christmas gift.
That's
to
my
yourself.
Christmas gift to the community.
To whoever wins this is a huge Christmas gift for you. And I'm quite jealous because they get this service from you of all people. Come on. Anyway, so we're going to take a step away for a second. I know we're early in the show, but we have Adam Atman coming in. He's going to enlighten us with all this incredible knowledge. I guarantee you will learn something. I've seen the excitement in your eyes since you got here talking about Adam and what he does and how brilliant he is. So I know I'm going to walk into my other room and I'm going to listen to the second half of the show, or the second portion of the show, so we can hear Adam speak.
Yeah.
We'll be right back on the Tantra Lounge.
Hi, I'm Divine Kika. I'm here to invite you to my new radio show this and every Saturday at midnight to inspire you to create loving, happy, fulfilling relationships in your life and have the best sex ever. I'll teach you tantric sex secrets never known before to spice your life and to give you greater joy. Join me this and every Saturday at midnight. Divine Kika Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio. For more information, go to divinekika.com.
So here we are, Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio, and I have an amazing guest, probably our best guest ever today, Atman. Adam is an acupuncturist, but is so much more. He's a Qigong master, is that true?
I don't like to call myself a Qigong master, but I've been practicing Qigong for 30 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're the best Qigong teacher I ever met.
Actually, my teacher's better. He is. That's why he's my teacher. Yeah.
Well, I have a profound admiration for the work that you're doing in the world, for all the healing and the love you put out there. Really, your mission is to heal the world and support people to become their best selves. I see you in your clinic, and you're completely devoted to your work and to the well-being of everybody around you. And
That's
I think
true.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. That's
You're also
true.
a devoted father and husband.
I am that, both things.
Yeah, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I always have learned so much from you.
Thank you.
So it's a time for everybody to experience you.
All right. Cool.
So what got you into spiritual healing, or how does your spiritual path started?
Well, that's a good question. I think, honestly, childhood trauma was probably a fairly significant portion of what got me into being a healer, because I had a fairly traumatic early childhood. And actually, somebody has written a book about that. There's a beautiful book out there written by two psychologists called, I think it's called The Spiritual Advantages of a Difficult Childhood, something like that.
About your
No, just about difficult childhoods in general.
Okay.
Just about me. So I think that, painful experiences in early childhood predisposed me as a teenager to trying to understand why I was pretty damn crazy. Right? I was wanting to know, why am I so mixed up? And so that was a good motivator. Yeah.
And what made you so crazy that you thought that you were crazy? What was going on? If you want to talk about
No, it's fine. Well, I definitely, I went through experiences of violence as a child, and very, very intense violence, not just directed at me, but just involving also other members of the family. And so by the time I was a teenager, I think I was pretty traumatized and was basically suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from the various episodes of violence that I'd either been, experienced directly or witnessed as a child. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was kind of intense my first 5 years. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like turning around. So what does Qigong and all the martial arts and all that you do, how does that impact your life today to be happier and a fulfilled, happier individual that you are?
Well, I started practicing Qigong. So by the way, for our listeners, Qigong is breathing and moving exercises. It's the Chinese term for breathing and moving exercises. And it's part of a whole tradition in China that is similar in a way to the yoga traditions in India. It's what the Chinese do as their physical aspect of their spiritual cultivation. Right? They work with these slow-moving and breathing exercises to generate energy in the body, to heal the body. And you'll often see people in Chinese parks doing Qigong, or you might see them doing Tai Chi, which is related to Qigong, or other martial arts. And so it's that's a very ancient, very very multifaceted tradition in China. There are over 4,000 schools of Qigong in China, different types of Qigong in China. And it's been something that Chinese have been way into. Qigong and internal martial arts, they've been into it for thousands of years. And so I was just kind of lucky, I think, in that when I was 18 years old, I met my first teacher, and I watched him practicing Tai Chi form. And I was very, very attracted to something in his energy field. It was very, very attractive to me. And I think really what it was that I wasn't physically well embodied. By the time I was a teenager, I was very out of my body. And I think a lot of that had to do with post-traumatic stress disorder. And some of it had to do with inappropriate diet. And some of it had to do with lack of just never having seen anything except, Western sports, which didn't work well for my body because I wasn't really in my body, and my body didn't function very well. Like if I ran, I would get heart pain or chest pain. I was very, very non-physical when I was young, as a result, I think, primarily of trauma. So when I met my first teacher, it was evident to me that he had something that I needed. It was very, very obvious to me. And so I just dived in and I practiced really hard. And so I didn't answer your question, but that's sort of how I got into like Chinese energy stuff. How does it affect me today? It's kind of integral to what I do, right? Because I work as a healer, as an acupuncturist, and as a hands-on healer. And I don't like my energy to get weak, and I don't like other people's illness energy to get stuck in me or on me or around me. So practicing Qigong, practicing Tai Chi and Bagua, the related martial arts, enables me to stay strong and feel good. It enables me to clear any energy that is sticking to me and recharge my battery. So that it gives me the capacity to operate as a healer with quite a few people in any given week. It's like charging up my battery, plus the specific skills. When you practice Qigong after a while, you can extend your awareness into your energy field, and you can extend your energy field out beyond your body. And so it's not that difficult to then extend your energy field into somebody else's energy field, or to just look and start to see, oh, what's going on in their body? Oh, there's a blockage here in the neck, or there's an organ is out of balance. Because after a while practicing Qigong, if you do it really regularly, you really get into it, it starts to make you psychic. That's not something that they normally necessarily
So what is
tell
psychic?
people.
For the people that are here and listening to us right now.
What is psychic?
What does that mean to you?
Oh, well, for me, it's just practically, I'm talking about it, I think just practically from my point of view of my work, it enables me to tune into somebody and to know what's out of balance, and then to start to feel into the nature of the imbalance, to understand why that imbalance exists. It's just like a reading something, or entering into being present with a quality or a condition, or it could be an illness or a disease, such that I get a clear insight as to what is its nature, what is its origin, what can I do about it. It's like a seeing. It's just a seeing a little bit below the surface.
Well, from all the healers that I ever went to, like, you're the one that you go, I don't have to say anything to you. You go straight to the point every time I get there.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's good. And that's my goal. And I can't always do that with every person every time. But one of the goals in Chinese medicine is to be what we call a superior physician. And there are 3 classes of doctor in Chinese medicine. And the superior class of doctor is described as follows, that you look and you know. Right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm not quite there most of the time with most of my patients, so if I'm there at all, that's good to know. Yeah.
No, you are with me.
That's the goal. The goal is to look and to know.
So the way we started this, I have another interview that I have done with Adam about ejaculation control and the way that men holds their sexual energy, and how does that affect men as a man to become better lovers, to have a healthier life, to be a better individual overall. And as a woman, as we can hear this and understand about our bodies too. And I know when I practice Qigong, which I haven't done much, but the little bit that I do, just the microcosmic orbit and all of that brings me back to my center.
Right.
where I can be circulating my energy and amplify and clear it.
Right.
But as far as the orgasmic energy, there's also like a power on holding it and expending it for a woman. Because we talk a lot, much.
You and I have talked about that, and it's been for me that's been an interesting kind of discussion, because turns out I'm not a woman this lifetime. That's confusing. I thought I was. No. Anyway, turns out I'm really not. So I can only really talk to the male.
Okay,
the energetic
I can talk about the woman energy after.
And I know you and I have had this discussion of like, well, okay, so for most men, most of the time, and this is absolutely a generalization, but for most men, most of the time, an ejaculation is going to drop their energy down. It's not true all the time.
So I think we have to say release here.
We're not allowed to say the EJ word.
No.
I didn't know that. Is that is that on a list?
Yeah,
like
it's
words
on the
you
list.
cannot say on the radio. Okay.
Yeah, so I gotta say
Release. Thank you. I feel so released. Oh, it's such a relief knowing that I can't.
It's like I feel so proper right now because I have the Englishman. Like,
right. So when most men release, most of the time there's a kind of energy letdown for a man if he pays attention to what he's experiencing. Now, not always. There's a very interesting study actually as to whether or not a man is going to, quote unquote, lose energy when he ejaculates. I think, on average, the average man, whoops, I said the EJ word again, the average release, sorry, edit it all out, is actually going to be an experience of losing energy, of becoming a little bit weaker, a little bit tireder as a result of that physical release. I'm training myself.
Very nice.
Divine Kika is an international Tantra master, author, seminar leader, relationship and sex coach. She will teach you to master your sexuality and self-awareness so you can experience fulfillment and happy relationships while living a life of love, power and passion. She guides you achieve the love life you have always wanted and have the best sex ever. If you want to create a truly happy relationship or to manifest your perfect partner, sign up for private video coaching through Skype and start creating the life you want now at www.divinekika.com.
So as a result of that physical release, they will lose energy.
Yeah, typically.
Life force energy that they could be using. And when they learn the tools to hold that energy and bring that up, then what they experience.
Yeah. Can I use the S word? That's semen.
Yes, I guess. I don't know.
Is that the S word? Am I allowed to say that?
The juices of the body.
I'm going to say the word semen and see how we go with it.
Okay.
Hopefully it's okay. So, or we should put it all in Sanskrit. Maybe that's acceptable. So yes, so what we work with in Qigong and in the sort of broad tradition of Chinese spiritual development for a householder, for somebody who's in lovemaking mode, we work with an idea that it's not that difficult to learn to delay or postpone release and still have an orgasm. Can I use the O word? Orgasms?
Have a full body release.
Full body orgasm. We're still on release mode. But I want to make a distinction between release and orgasm for a man. Okay. So it's not that hard for a man to learn to hold his sexual energy in, not physically release, but have an orgasmic experience. Right? And so what happens for men, and that's oftentimes a kind of a first place that you want a man to start to explore in Tantra and in Chinese Tantra, in what we do in Taoism. And
most people don't understand
Yeah,
that concept.
most people don't get it, especially
like,
in the West,
wow,
right?
why would I hold it? Or I'm just doing it twice a day. Why not?
Yeah, I know. Now,
And
many
the
times,
damage.
I will meet a man. Let's create an imaginary patient in this situation. He's in his 40s, and he is releasing twice a day because Men's Magazine told him to, and the results of the latest study of Australians proved that the more that you release, the lower your risk of prostate cancer. And so, yeah, we can get into that later. So there's this idea in the West that the more a man releases, the better. And so you know, here's my example client. He comes in and he has an aching lower back and weak knees and fatigue and a sense of lack of will as he's getting older. Maybe he's, say, 42, because there's a specific shift that happens every 7 or 8 years. And I find out that, yeah, he's releasing twice a day and never thought about that, except as, oh, that's okay, that's fine, that's a good thing for me to do. It relaxes me, it relieves my tension. And all of that is true. But if a man learns the techniques of breathing and circulating the energy in that microcosmic orbit that you talked about, where you bring the energy and the breath up the spine and bring it down the front of the body, and if a man learns to become sexually really aroused and then draw that energy in and up and circulate it until he's calm again, what happens is that sexual energy actually feeds into your body. And this is not an airy-fairy idea. It literally, physically, will feed the body. The body will get more energy from learning to work with and move that sexual energy. The joints will get looser. The fundamental core level of energy will increase. And the experience of even of sexuality will become richer and deeper. And frankly, more of a turn on, more exciting. Because if you're a guy who's
unfinished business.
Yeah. Right, because if you're a guy and you just released, 8 hours ago or 12 hours ago or something, then you have less sensual presence inside
Even
your
love.
chi body. That
Yeah,
too.
even love.
Even love.
Because
Yeah.
that brings men
Right.
more into their feelings,
Right.
to the connection with
Right.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the first places to go is to try to teach them, and it's not just some sort of esoteric process you might engage in when you're making love. It's also something to practice if you're self-pleasuring, if you're masturbating, is to learn how to do that process and not automatically always finish with the release and the tissues and fall asleep. Right?
Beep, boop.
Yeah. And, honestly, it's a big shift for many men to make that shift, to go, you know what? It's okay. I can go a week without that release. For many men, that's like, whoa, they've got to get their head wrapped around that. And, men tend to have an idea that they'll have like blue balls, or they'll get like this really physical kind of blockage, or that they're mentally, they're going to just kind of lose it and spaghetti will start coming out of their ears. And, because they haven't had a release. But what that actually is just habituation. And you can actually create another pathway for the energy. And at that point, once you've established another pathway for the energy, then whether or not you have a release could be a question of what kind of cycle you're in. And then it varies a lot from man to man. Because different men generate different amounts of semen and have different capacities to absorb it into their physical body.
That's
and not
interesting.
just semen, but also the actual sperm cells. So the sperm cells are produced in the testes, but they're only 0.0001% of the actual
So they
weight
can blow up?
of the ejaculate. Say that again.
They're going to blow up.
Boom! And it's all over. No, but that's the beautiful thing. They don't.
They don't, but
I
they
know
get
from long experience.
I know they
blow up.
don't.
They
But, what
they will
happens?
reabsorb. Well, if a man is celibate, and I mean like really celibate, not just not
But
making love, but
the
actually
energy is
not
not moving, then it gets stagnant, right?
Well, it can if it's not moving, but you can move that energy.
Well, as long as you're stimulating yourself, right?
Or just circulating the energy. Like if you were a
energetic
monk
monk.
and you're sitting in a cave and you're part of your practice is you're not going to engage in fantasy and masturbation, but you would still circulate your energy, right?
Bring it up to the head and then down.
Now
again.
it takes about 6 weeks typically for the testicles to reabsorb sperm cells, and then the prostate also recycles. And how?
So 6 weeks, the body reabsorbs it.
Oh yeah. The testes will naturally start reabsorbing if you don't have a release for 6 weeks, and they'll actually start reabsorbing before then. But
Is there any danger in
Western
that?
scientific research has looked at that. Well, that's a good question. Let's say you're an 18-year-old guy, and you've got a lot of energy, and are you going to shake that, put a cork in that bottle of soda and shake it up? Maybe not so much. But if you're a 42-year-old or a 54-year-old guy and your energy is starting to decline, then it's much safer and it's much easier for you to start to learn how to circulate your sexual energy. And then how long you go between ejaculations is, I used that word again. How long you go between releases is going to be a function of your own body's typology, your actual, what kind of physical body you have, how often your body is going to need to go there.
Takes getting to know the body, make time touching yourself, experience
process
how it feels.
Right.
Right.
Now, some men, if they practice these kind of arts, can go into a place where they never ejaculate. It's so, right? And some men, myself included, that is not going to happen. I've spent long enough, studying this stuff and working with this stuff with my body to know, periodically I need to have a release. But for me, periodically might be every few weeks to every month.
So we went through once, like how like a man that is, let's say, okay, they're 20 years old.
Yeah.
How often he should,
well,
like in a normal, of course it varies body to body, but like a 20-year-old, how many times a week should he, once a week?
It's a great question. No, it's a great question. And I'm going to attempt to answer it the Taoist way, which is first by looking at what the history of Chinese medicine and Taoism says about this. And what the history of Chinese medicine says about this is once a day to once every 3 or 4 days if it's a 16 to 24-year-old healthy, strong male, right?
Once a day?
To once every 3 or 4 days. Like there's a spectrum.
Okay.
There's a spectrum. You don't have to fit that spectrum. You could be less, you could be more, right? There are guys that need more and there are guys that need less, but that's kind of an averaging.
We're looking at what's healthier.
And then as you're, say, moving into your late 20s and your early 30s, you might actually be reducing that number down a little bit. It might be once a week, something
once
like
a week
that. Yeah.
For a 25 to 30-year-old man.
Could be twice a week for some men, could be once every 10 days for some men. And then as you get older, it's going to get longer and longer and longer amount of time.
So a 30-year-old guy, I want to be specific about it, like, because all these guys are listening to us and they're going to want to know.
But we can't
be
that specific because it depends
on their own
on
body.
the guy's body. And also, of course, it depends
training.
upon their training. It depends on what they're doing with the energy. It depends on many factors. But one thing I can say about it is that men will experience an increase in energy, vitality, and ultimately just in joy if they start to explore these techniques.
Too.
Yeah, absolutely. Creativity too.
Yeah.
Men become very enslaved to their release in a different way than generally than women do. I mean, obviously, sexual energy, in my opinion, is very good for the body. Like to get aroused, to get really into a state of arousal and to have sexual energy coursing through your body, it's very good for your health. That's my opinion. It's also, I've just observed it, for long enough to go, this is actually really good for people. It's also potentially very addictive, right? And that addictive tendency, I think, in some ways a little stronger, and of course this is a generalization, but in some ways it's a bit stronger for men than for women. And so, it's great for men to sort of learn to find a little bit of a different way to learn to internalize that energy sometimes. And then, the lovemaking gets better. Everything gets better.
Yeah, and they come more to their feelings, which is a beautiful thing, because then they can connect a little deeper. If they're ejaculating a lot, they never cross that line where they can have that next level of connection.
Welcome to Tantra Lounge.
Sex Talk Radio.
Divine Kika is a radiant force, overflowing with positive energy, guiding you to a heart-opening, blissful, authentic, tantric experience. This show will help you to expand your joy, cultivate more intimacy in your life, and rediscover the pleasure within your personal relationships. A lot of people have questions out there about Tantra. I think there's a lot of misconceptions, would you say? Some misunderstandings about what it's all about?
Yeah. When I say I'm a Tantra teacher, people look at me like I wish I could show you their faces. They have these big eyes and like a little, and excitement. It's like a little bit of fear and a little bit of nervous, and they look with these big eyes and a big smile because a big part of them is really curious about what it is.
Of course.
But then there is a little bit fear. So means excitement.
I think so. It's a stimulating topic.
Tantra is a path like Zen or yoga that uses sexuality as a door to awareness.
That's right.
And then Tantra is also choosing with awareness what brings us joy. Now, if we're expanding that, like what is really be conscious enough, knowing oneself enough, knowing your surroundings, knowing what your deepest desires, fears, emotions, and send that into how can I bring more joy into my life? And from that joy, expand throughout all those around me.
Absolutely. I think that when it comes to Tantra and sex, it's such a hot topic. Of course, people are interested in it. Of course, they want to hear about it. They want to talk about it. But really, it's just scratching the surface of it. Although sexuality is very much embraced in Tantra, it is really not the primary focus or point.
Now I have a question for you.
I
Because
had a question for you.
You had a question for me?
Kind of.
Sure.
Something just dropped into my mind.
Sure.
You don't have to answer this.
So now I have
As a woman, can you recognize the experience of you meet a guy and it's really going well, you're feeling love for each other, and sexual energy starts to move.
And then he's not ready.
And then, it all starts to evolve, and lovemaking happening, and it's great. And then 3 minutes and 35 seconds into the experience, whoa!
Then we want to beat him.
Oh dear!
Why did you do it?
And then
It's
if you do
frustrating.
beat the
It's
guy,
frustrating.
he
It's just I can
absolutely
be
loses
patient.
it.
I can come to
Of
my
course.
heart and I
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah. But
explain
it's
and I can
frustrating, isn't
teach
it?
and everything.
It's a drag.
But it gets to be a frustration.
Yeah.
And later on in the relationship,
Yeah.
I have tried to be in relationships
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if the guy doesn't, I call it a wake up.
Yeah.
Because if he's being taught and he's being guided and he needs to master
So
it.
this, this is
And this is something that's not just
Yeah.
me, it's every woman.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
eventually she's going to say, I don't want to make love to you.
Right.
And that's not because she doesn't want to make love.
No.
It's not because she's bitter. It's because the lovemaking experience
Yeah.
is no longer fulfilling.
right.
Because you can never connect with her
And
to
it's
the
actually
depth
right. It's
that
actually
she's
kind
longing
of
for.
kind of shocking actually to have lovemaking end prematurely over and over again.
Then you know what it feels like? That man is just coming and releasing all his stuff from the day
Right.
in me.
Rather than coming to a meeting, which
Me.
takes time and
Where we could just meet and there is no release. There's
Right.
just that, and then I can actually release
Right.
for him.
Right.
And
So,
that's
yeah.
a beautiful dance when we can
Yeah,
get
yeah.
there. Now, one of
Yeah.
the things that I wanted to get into with you is like you gave the most of being around the most sacred Tantra masters, the best Tantra masters in the world. Nobody spoke about the depths of lovemaking and what unfolds. And when we make love longer, when it's longer than 2 hours and then 3 hours, so what happens? I would love for you to talk about it because
Sure.
it's so beautiful.
And
the
it's
way
and
you
it
explain
exactly
it.
sort of follows on from what we were just saying. So, if the man can go into a place where he can learn the techniques, learn the tantra techniques to slow down or to curtail the releasing impulse and stay in the lovemaking process, but keep the energy circulating. Then what I've noticed is that lovemaking has an unfolding of different layers of contact. It would probably be the way to put it. So the first, and typically when you first start lovemaking and the man, first enters the woman, because that wouldn't be when you first start lovemaking, hopefully, but at the point that the man enters the woman, there's this down rush of energy in the woman's body, and that's what normally pulls men towards premature ejaculation. It's that down rushing of energy. And so what I tell men is they have to learn to kind of ride that out. They have to work with their partner if necessary, ask her to kind of be still or quiet or back off a little bit, or they have to kind of learn the physical techniques of not penetrating all the way but using shallow thrusts for a little while, doing their breathing exercises, stopping moving if necessary, until they get past that. once you get past that phase, then there's a kind of continuing merging, getting to know each other, getting the energies to meet, and there's a specific doorway.
Just remember that
Yeah.
most people never get to be there.
Okay.
Where
Thanks for reminding me about that. Yeah.
right, and
Right.
most men don't never cross
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And so they never know what's the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
Because they're not able because they
Right.
didn't have the experience, the training.
The first place of what's on the other side of that, let's say you've gone, 20 to 30 minutes of lovemaking, there's a kind of joining of energy that starts to happen between a man and a woman where, if the man's hand is resting on the woman's belly or on her chest or on her head, you can feel the energies starting to merge. Now, this is when a woman is going to start finding orgasms, just naturally emerging, right? Because there's this swirling kind of connecting. Technically, what's happening is that the man's chi body, that's the energy body around your physical body, and the woman's chi body have started to get into synchronization. If the physical body might have been doing its thing for 20, 30 minutes before that happens, but the energy bodies, the chi bodies, are starting to synchronize. Now, it's said in the esoteric traditions, even by Osho, for example, he stressed this: a woman's chi body is masculine and a man's chi body is feminine. So when the chi bodies start to merge with each other, the man starts to feel kind of a sense of fullness and a really pleasant kind of bliss. Because what's happening is the yin energy of the woman is starting to balance out all his crazy yang energy, because we're not balanced in and of ourselves. It's really interesting. And of course, the similar kind of thing is happening to a woman. That powerful, young, fiery, activating energy is now spreading through her, right?
Oh,
it's pretty
so
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that normally is what then culminates in the lucky accident of good lovemaking, right? When the man and the woman both are coming into some really beautiful feelings of fulfillment. And it's also just the first or maybe the second phase, right? Because if you can then slow it down, and oftentimes what facilitates going deeper is you actually have a phase where you stay still and you breathe together. You consciously breathe. Maybe you have small movement, a little bit of movement if you want a little bit more arousal, but then you also have a little bit more still time. Often, if you can kind of extend that process, and that's really, the ground of Tantra, then you can get into this third realm, or what people call the valley orgasm state, and that's remarkable. That's just a remarkable state.
I want a real estate there.
Say that again?
I want a real estate at the Valley of Orgasm. It
You
should be really expensive real estate there. I want to live there. I think I live there most of the time, though.
I think you might. So the valley orgasm is a sort of a deeper stage than the one I just described, where a kind of energy emerges between you both that has a quality of soul, has a quality of stillness and fullness and a kind of soul quality. And that's where people might spontaneously, weep, or the woman might weep, or the
That's
man
where
might
those
feel
blissful
joined.
tears
Yeah,
come. And,
yeah.
and that's
Right.
such a beautiful part of lovemaking that
Yeah.
we all crave and long for that.
Right.
I think if we all had some of that, our lives would be so much better.
Oh,
Because of
indeed.
The
And you
fulfillment
know
that
how
that brings in all
widespread the lack
levels.
of that is, right? How widespread the lack of actual contact, because we're now talking about a level of sexual experience that I think probably, it happens occasionally to everybody, but it's
It's very
people
rare.
don't know the path. They don't even know why. They're just like, wow, what just happened, kind of thing.
I don't know.
you
It could be an awakening for a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is that in the West, we don't have a cultural discussion about sexuality that's very real, especially for men, because you don't hear this information for men.
No,
You know,
men don't even know it's possible.
No,
A lot of people don't know it's possible.
no, they don't.
So after that,
Hmm.
what else is possible?
After that,
After that,
well,
we are there on the Valley of
Okay.
Orgasm, looking at each other's eyes, breathing, and,
Yeah.
and going
Yeah.
through it.
and it's quite still and full and beautiful.
And there's no movement needed, really. It's
No.
just that, and it's...
Or there might be movement, but another part will be quite still, even though there's some physical movement.
And
Could be.
I'm missing that.
We all know the physical aspects of sex, but we rarely hear of the spiritual side. 10 Tantric Sex Secrets for Greater Sex, Love, and Intimacy Tonight by Divine Kika will bring you extraordinary bliss. This titillating and easy-to-read book will transform your ordinary sex life to breathtaking, amazing, powerful. Great for beginners, let this book be your first step to a happier love life. 10 Tantric Sex Secrets for Greater Sex, Love, and Intimacy Tonight. Available in hard copy, ebook, and audio format at divinekika.com. That's divine, Kika.com.
I'm real excited about your new book, 10 Tantric Sex Secrets. And it's really beautiful that you came out with this, and so I'm hoping that everybody can find it and read what she's written here and take a great start to your own tantric journey and take a look at this sweet book. It's a great little pamphlet. It's easy to read, and Kika's just wonderful.
So that part where it comes in, then there is another layer.
Yeah, there is another layer, but it's not that easy for me to talk about because I've only experienced it a few times. And that is the layer where I actually can't really talk about it very easily, but basically you go into a samadhi state together, and you may actually experience yourself outside your body and inside your body simultaneously, and merged with the other person, and also merged with the universe, or merged with a universal quality.
With sky dancing
and
together.
I've been, I've touched into that, and I'm not a master that could just like.
Oh, it takes two. It takes two aware beings to go there, and it's very rare to find people that can
honestly,
go there.
I think it takes practice. Right? It takes actually working with these techniques and being very patient with them and enjoying them and then that might be happening sometimes. Yeah.
It takes a depth in the relationship too.
Yeah.
There's a level of trust and connection that develops with time.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like somewhat. Well, we went there. So much is talking about it. Let's shift the energy a little bit.
But as we were talking, I was just suddenly struck by how many people are not connected to their own sexuality. And I have a little anecdote about that because it's just on my mind at the moment because of a patient that I've been working with who's a fairly, she's a woman in her early 30s. And
lots of sexual energy?
No. She's a woman in her early 30s, and I'm helping her with some very specific physical problems. And at some point, she mentioned to me that she'd never had an orgasm. And turns out that that's pretty common, right? That's a pretty common experience.
And usually they don't talk with their lips very open, and their movements are a little tight.
Indeed. Indeed.
So guys, watch out for the girls that are a little tighter. They can't go there.
Right. We can't open them.
And it's sad.
Well, it's sad, and it has physical and emotional and spiritual implications and repercussions that are not good for people. And very often what I've seen in my practice is that people can be stuck in a place like that. Like a woman could be stuck in a place where she's really never had an orgasm, or a man could be stuck in a place where he's, in an addictive relationship or something like that to masturbation, for example. And if you get a little deeper into it, very often you find there's a violation of trust in childhood. That these things go back to early childhood and teenage conditioning as a result of intimacy, and violations of intimacy or violations of trust, where the space of openness and intimacy has not been effectively modeled for somebody when they're a child.
And then the levels of abuse that women go through, or sexual abuse, emotional abuse.
That's the other main cause of this.
It's like almost every woman went through
I know, it's
some
crazy.
kind of abuse.
It's crazy, actually,
Yeah. And it's
I mean, for 30 years now, 25 years, I've been working with patients around sexual abuse issues, and it's endemic, and it's important work to kind of locate and identify and heal those issues, and those issues are pandemic.
Yeah, until I healed my relationship with my father and what happened to me, I could not manifest good relationships in my life.
That's the thing, you see, it's amazing. And just to go back to my little anecdote with this particular person, then just tracing on from, okay, there was this childhood violation in a sense of what is intimacy. And as a result of that, we've had one failed relationship after another, but I mean really failed. You know.
And that's exhausting.
Yeah, right? And people are stuck in this cycle. They can go on until they're 70 or 80 or 90 repeating the same pattern.
And you can heal it. Sometimes if you drop your awareness just a little bit, those patterns come back and wake you up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you think you heal it? There's another layer. Here we go. Let's go deeper. You can't stop healing. You can't stop loving yourself.
And you know, if I was to venture a guess as to what percentage of chronic illness actually has at its roots some sexual abuse or some sexual blockage.
This is interesting.
60% maybe.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah, it's very high. It's very high.
Yeah, because we close up.
Yeah.
It goes through every level of our being.
Right, it's high. I don't know the percentage, but what I do know is that it's costing this country billions of dollars, because it's chronic illness that's going to actually take down the American economy. It's kind of interesting to think about this. It's those poor people who are in a pattern of chronic pain or a pattern of chronic illness where they're on multiple medications, they're on multiple painkillers. It's an onward, continuous, repeating spiral. One of the things they've seen about this recently in studies of the psychology of people with chronic illness is that it almost always goes back to early childhood trauma. And these are Western medical studies looking at this. What they don't yet have is the tools and the conversation and the training or anything in place to actually deal with it inside the Western medical model. At least not much in place. But it's interesting to think about that.
So we need to keep ourselves in check and take good care of ourselves and love ourselves and get help.
Yeah.
Get help and learn how to move our sexual energy.
It's
learn
something
how
that
to
we should be learning this when we're teenagers. That would make the most sense, right?
Yeah.
You got a body, you got junk down there that's now operational when you're a teenager. Learn how to use it. Learn how to work with it. Learn how to. That would be magical.
Wouldn't it? If that was taught in the schools.
Yeah.
Like,
That would be remarkable.
That would be lovely.
Divine Kika is an international Tantra master, author, seminar leader, relationship and sex coach. She will teach you to master your sexuality and self-awareness so you can experience fulfillment and happy relationships while living a life of love, power, and passion. Achieve the love life you have always wanted and have the best sex ever. For life-changing relationship advice and great lovemaking tips, visit divinekika.com. That's divine, Kika.com.
No, I just want to touch upon pornography addiction because it's a big problem in our society today. And a lot of people don't talk about it at all. And how does it affect a man today? And then how does it bring those problems that we just talk about? And then they disconnect from their body. They disconnect from their psyche.
I think we might not even fully yet grasp the implications of the widespread availability of pornography. And how that's impacting men's psyches and therefore the whole planet at this point. It's a problem that is moving really fast through every culture where you have a middle class with access to a computer. Like they're seeing now in India and in China, massive problems with addiction to pornography. Of course, it's been going on here since pornography became available.
Men of all ages tell me, like in a session, they tell me that they are doing it. And I find it very sad.
It's hardwired into the male pretty much for almost all men, it's hardwired into their sexual response, that their sexual response is quite easily triggered by visual input. And that's more hardwired for men, I believe, than for women. And so...
The women gets addicted to it too.
They
It's
do,
just
I know.
different.
Yeah. I think the percentages are way less. And how is it different in your experience or your sense of like what that is?
They won't admit it. They won't talk about it. It's kind of like something dark that they do and feel guilty about it.
Okay.
And for men, it's more like it's allowed. It's okay.
Interesting. Yeah. And so, I'm not actually wanting to sort of sit here and say, oh, it's bad.
Don't use it. Don't
to look at
never do
pornography.
it.
You should never do it, because two things. One is, I don't necessarily believe it's bad necessarily. And two, you're not going to stop anyway. So fundamentally, let's be straight
That's
about
the
this.
point. Like they will not stop.
So then I think what's interesting to look at with pornography is a model of addiction that is based on, is this harming you? Right? Is this harming you? Is this harming your relationships? It's the same as if we looked at smoking marijuana or drinking alcohol. It's like, I enjoy drinking alcohol. I enjoy 2 drinks. But then if I'm enjoying 7 drinks every night, then it's harming me. Then it might be harming my family. It might be harming all kinds of things. It's the same with pornography. And I think many men also perhaps don't perceive how it could be harming them, because that's kind of what they know. Because they're masturbating once a day, twice a day, once every 2 days. And so pornography is just a convenient technology to facilitate the masturbation process that they've been addicted to since they were 13 anyway.
And then it goes back to that releasing over and over again, which causes all the problems.
So all I would say about pornography use is I would encourage men to examine if their use of pornography is causing them to lack sleep, causing them to be more isolated from their family or from their loved ones, and is actually causing them to not engage their creativity, because that's a big thing with masturbation and pornography.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Right? Because if you're actually looking at that stuff for an hour or 2 or 3 every night, you're probably not writing the great American novel that you have within you. I mean, you're probably not doing that. Not as well.
Your energy, literally.
Yeah. So my thought about that is, what just for each individual, each man to examine, what are your limits with it? And can you find limits with it? Is what you're doing with it harming you or taking away from other expressions of your life force? And that's pretty much all I can really say about that. I mean, and there are. As people are starting to realize this is a major addictive issue for millions of men, there are support groups, there are books, there are online communities, there are therapists that work with
I'll
this.
post in the Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio, Divine Kika Facebook page a video, a TED Talk that this guy did a lot of studies, what it does with your psyche, with the chemistry of your body.
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing video, well-done video. It will be there available for you if you just go there. I'll post it today.
Yeah, and having said that, I also want to advocate the other side of it, which is that actually contacting and allowing yourself to be sexually aroused could be really good for your health, right? Mm-hmm. Provided it doesn't always end in ejaculation for a man, right? But in general, all of the energetic subtleties that you can bring to a tantric experience with circulating the energy, not all, but a lot of that men can bring in to their masturbation practice. And so masturbation can actually physically heal their bodies. It can make them feel lighter, more happy, more energized.
And they don't necessarily need to spill their energy.
No, they don't want them. We don't want them to really do that too much at all.
Just to stimulate themselves. I actually think
just
people should stimulate themselves in the morning.
Yeah.
Before they get themselves really close and then come back. Yeah. And just keep that energy that way. Right. It can make a very different day.
And for a man, it's learning to get that orgasm reflex separated from the release so that you can go into that orgasmic place. You feel great. You feel energized. I mean, I study my body and my own process, and I find that going into that orgasmic state clears energy off of me. It makes me feel good. It's good for my vitality. It makes me optimistic.
Makes you happier,
right? It makes me happy. It's good for my joints. Yeah, I think sexual energy is good for people.
That's a big injection of oxytocin. We can benefit from that.
Yeah.
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 Thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom. And
No.
I always love talking to you.
Total
Every
pleasure.
opportunity that I have. I'm very grateful to have you here,
Thanks.
sharing your wisdom with all of us. We're going to put it on social medias and let people
All right,
know.
cool.
Hopefully you send it to your mailing list too.
I will.
Yeah, this is
Send me
gonna
the
be a
links.
fun
I'll
one.
send it out to my home mailing list.
Fantastic.
All right, great,
And this is
great.
going to be awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much, Adam. This is Tantra Lounge, Sex Talk Radio. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.